I treat the dancers like actors, a completely different way of working. And it's kind of difficult to explain if you haven't been an actor and you haven't been a dancer. But as a dancer in a space, you're treated in such a specific way. You are treated like the paintbrush for somebody else's paint. Whereas if you're in an actor and you're working as an actor, you are a thinking human, you have an opinion, you're talking, you're physically talking all the time. You're analyzing, you're saying, why did this person write this? How do I feel about this? And then a director with an actor is going to work with humans. And so I work like that with dancers. Like in After Dark, I laid the foundation of what the movement was, the movement vocabulary, the mechanics of how the work will work. I literally wrote a script for each dancer. They had a piece of paper that they would write on, just like actors do. And that was also weird for dancers to have this piece of paper being like, what do I do with this thing?
When we had the choreo, then she started building intention and we got scripts. That was the first time, because I'd never done any acting, that was the first time I sat with a script and I was like, it makes so much sense. Like I now know why I'm doing what I'm doing, which was like epiphany moment. It was very, very cool. And I think it was a good push from what I'm comfortable doing, because I think it kind of prepared me to do more now.
But yeah, I think for me, the one thing I learned was definitely that part of myself that I opened up to, which was the bringing together the movement and the acting. Something I've always wanted to do, something I've always thought of, I mean, even for musical theater, but this was in a different way. And the direction that Lee gave for this was a beautiful way to think of that.
I'm Lee van Merwe. I am a multidisciplinary performer and creative. So I suppose I'm dancer, actor, singer, and then as a creative, I'm a choreographer, writer. I love writing, director. And so people have landed up calling my work, like labeling it for me. It's been called dance theater, it's been called physical theater, but from my perspective, I just tell stories.
So Lee's movement work and choreographic style, it's an infusion of many different things. It's definitely contemporary, but it's also alternative. I mean, for this piece specifically, elements of somewhat African background, African elements to the steps. And I think that comes in like the vastness of how things move. But she's also got a beautiful combination of neoclassical-ish and also release technique. But those aren't necessarily two easy things to put together, because one is basically based around throwing yourself around, and one is based on being very controlled. So experiencing that was very, very interesting, because the whole point of the piece was very realistic and very naturalistic. So obviously we don't want to look too balletic and too controlled. You want to look natural, you want to look human. Yeah, very cool choreography. I don't think a style that I've necessarily experienced before.
I always joke with people and say that my body was not made to move quickly. I have very long limbs and I like to move slowly and do like pretty movements. Not that Lee's moves were not pretty, they were beautiful, but they were fast and they were vast. So it was a big adjustment for me. Lee helped with that so much, and she made it make sense. She took experiences from life and put it into a piece, because our choreography was very literal. So often as in contemporary, it's quite abstract and it's open to interpretation. I think this piece was very, very clear in what we were trying to say and what we were trying to do. So that's also something so different to what I think people are used to seeing.
After Dark was a commissioned work for ACDC's Dance Intersect 2024. After Dark is a contemporary dance piece that explores the juxtapositions of nightlife. So on one side of the room, you can have someone having the best night of their life or meeting the love of their life. And then just a couple meters on the other side of the room, you can have somebody whose drink is being spiked, or having a panic attack, or feeling so alone and isolated. They're literally in the same room, but they can't see each other, they can't hear each other. This was a space that I was strangely inspired by. I wanted to comment on it. I wanted to say how crazy it is that this is what we do. I learned about South African protest theatre, which really woke me up. Plays like Woza Albert, playwrights like Athol Fugard, John Carney, they used the stage as a literal platform for social change, to say something. And that I found truly inspiring. So then I look back at dance, because it is my lens through which I see the world. It is the way that I want to express myself. I have dance as this vocabulary that I've had my whole life. And then I've got theatre where I could say something, and I want to put them together. Then I was thinking about gesture, how everybody moves, and even when we don't know that we are moving. So when we're talking, like you can see now, as we talk, we communicate with body language, we communicate with gesture, and the way we use body language can morph into choreography that is far more grounded and human, relatable. And that's where I find the magic.
I remember we did a workshop with her, and she did like a build-up of how to work on movement like that, and basically how to use movement as communication, how to turn words into movement and make it quite clear. Yeah, it was really cool, like taking a word or a sentence and putting that into movement can feel very uncomfortable sometimes for dancers, because obviously you don't like talking. So yeah, I think that's the one thing that I've learned is opening up to that side and learning how to explore or find different ways to turn movement into communication that is clear.
I could not have asked for a better group of people to surround myself with. Obviously there's a lot of I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but there's a lot of anxiety going into a new space. I had never met any of these people before. Almost, am I good enough to be in a rehearsal space with these people who have built themselves such a name and who've been so successful in the industry already? But they did a really good job of making me feel like I was worthy of being in a room with them, if that makes sense. And I would say that Lee always did a really good job of making us feel like we're doing her proud. At the end of every rehearsal, she'd be like, that was amazing, you guys are amazing, incredible job. So the space was really it was always so positive and always so encouraging.
She gave us room to play. She gave us room to discover and think on our own. She didn't pinpoint us to one thing. She gave us what she wanted and allowed us to explore around that area in a very safe way with no judgment. I never felt any judgment. I remember even approaching her and expressing that I'm struggling a little bit with my character, and the way she handled that was just really, really sweet. Best way to put it is that it was honestly just a safe and happy space. All the right energies were there, and I think all the energies that we had were just focus and care and concern for each other and love for each other. But the space that Lee created was just very safe and open to whatever you can or want to bring to the space.
As the choreographer, I had to decide, what do I want the audience to definitely know? And I made the decision, I said, I want them to know exactly where they are, and I want the audience to know when this is set. I decided that the costumes would be based on what people are wearing at the moment. The costumes were also very much based on the dancer's personal style. I would say, show me pictures of what you would dress like if you went out clubbing. Their costumes were very much based on them, and I thought that was really special and really cool. In terms of lighting, I gave the lighting director, Wilhelm, who is incredible, I gave him a full brief and write-up of what this piece was, and the environment that I wanted to create on the stage. And then Wilhelm took it the next step, and he was like, let's take those two elements that you've given me, and let's also have projections at the back. Because I told him, through lighting, I want to show that we're in a bathroom, and now we're going onto the club floor, the dance floor. Okay, now we're in a back alley, or now we're here. He took that the final step and was like, let's use projections. And I thought that was brilliant, really, really brilliant.
And also the lighting, oh my goodness. There was one point where they made a door. Beth had to come in on stage, and there was the light, when you open a door, there's light projected on they made it on the stage. Oh, this is crazy. This is a whole world that we've just entered in, and Lee's mind is insane. There's just, every little detail was so thought out, and it was so cool to be a part of something like that.
And that just also, relates to me wanting to have a piece that is entertaining and wonderful to watch for both the dance community and for people who've never seen dance before, and that everybody could relate to one of the characters on the stage and remind them of oh, I've been there, oh, I've had a friend who's been there, with this idea of using the stage as a platform to say something worthwhile and make them think differently, perhaps about dance, perhaps about theatre, perhaps about themselves or the world around us. Hopefully to leave the audience a little bit changed. That's the goal.